So, yes, Mike and Dan, both back in Base 1000.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good, thank you. How's it going with you?
Good. It's busy.
Yay. Busy?
Yeah. Busy. Oh, tired.
Yeah. So, going well then?
Yeah.
Good.
How's the new business? How's the new business going?
Very good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
Hire some new people and get things moving. I had a lot this week because there's a lot going on with the Naval Academy this week, so we were very busy. But it's about to end. Tomorrow will be the last day for the busyness because they will all graduate and we will be done.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And then you can relax a bit,
Rest,
right?
Yeah. What'd you say, Ada?
Oh, now you get a little rest. My work is just starting. Besides the house and dog sitting I've been doing, my stint at the park starts this Saturday. And I got them on the phone, and they were like, well, you're going to start off just running a ride. So if I'm running a ride, I can take days off. I've got some friends of mine are getting married this summer, and I've got a couple of other events I have to go to. So, but I'm just getting started, so I'm going to be getting really busy. But I still will be doing my best to arrive at these quantum gatherings. So.
Yeah. I'll be around more now. It's been very busy the last couple weeks, but I'm gonna try to get here in the next couple. Make sure we keep moving forward. Do some stuff.
Really.
Nice. Oh, by the way, I think there's a backlog on bounties. I've been trying to claim and it won't let me claim. So next time you have a moment. I don't know.
For which one?
Sure, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't
I tried claiming your bounty again. I tried claiming your share bounty again because you asked me to. It still doesn't work.
Me?
I think I posted that it didn't.
Me?
Yeah. Yes, you. Remember I shared that thing and then it didn't do the bounty, and I said, I mean, I've given up trying to claim bounties a lot there because it just, doesn't work.
Don't give up. That's not good. Let's sort the glitches out, rather.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again. Then give up. No use.
What's up, Satori?
What's up, guys?
I thought I heard somebody buzzing around.
Yeah, that's me.
How you doing, Satori?
How you been?
All right. Busy, and then just like stuff like my grandma getting hit by a semi truck, and then
how's she doing? What happened? How did that all happen? Even that's crazy.
Yeah, so she lives in Texas, and she lives in like this. Actually, the town's gotten bigger, but it's this rural part of Texas, and then she goes up to San Antonio to stay with my uncle, and so that she does this like all the time, and it's like a 4-hour drive. Like everything in Texas, especially if you live in a small town, is like
it's all spread out.
Yeah, I remember when I spent the summer over there in Texas. So all my life I grew up here in LA, and so when I go over there, I go, hey, my aunt, she's actually like a year younger than me. Ida, I go. The first day, she's like, "Hey, you want to do something?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's like go to the mall." And she's like, "Nah, that's like 3 hours away." I'm like, how about let's go to the movies or something? And she's like, "Well, the only good one is like in San Antonio. That's too far." And then I'm like, "What's there to do?" And she goes, "Oh, Walmart." And so we do that the first 2 days, and the third day I go, you know what? I'll just stay here and play video games. I'm tired of Walmart. I don't want to go. So anyway, she drives a lot, and then it's just a freak accident where on the other lane, and there's like a big gap between the lanes on the highway, right?
Right.
And so going the opposite direction, a semi truck like clipped another like trailer, and then it kind of like swerved and it went off and it went into the middle, and so it went into the opposite traffic lane, which is pretty far, and so like, you know, then it hit it, like from there it hit her and then it hit another car, and so she got hit hard, but also to the way it hit, it was like a ricochet, and then the semi truck had to travel like, you know, some distance and go over like the you know, the medium, so it kind of like slowed it down a little bit, so like it didn't totally crush her car, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it messed up the car pretty good, and and she like swerved, and so we think it hit the passenger side. But anyway, she got like, when I saw her, she was like not even fully like that much conscious, like she was just pain, you know, and her body was all tense and like bruises from head to toe, like everywhere, and so like, even as bad it was, there was like a little luck in there. Like she broke ribs, but it didn't like puncture anything. She had some fractures, but she had nothing structural, so they don't have to do like surgery. She just needs to like wear the neck brace and like, even though that it hurts, like, you know, get back and walking and stuff like that. And she's older, so like it's hard. And they don't want her to lay in bed all day, you know, and then she'll get something else, you know, like pneumonia or something like that. Especially with the ribs, it hurts for. Well, she's a little bit better now. The last time I saw her, but in the beginning, it was hard for her to like swallow and stuff like that.
Oh, the trauma must have been amazing. I'm just glad she was in the car. I just
remember like it happening, and the crazy part of it, there's someone that was like saw it happening and like took a video and posted it on I think TikTok, and then later someone saw it on Facebook, and then we saw it. But it doesn't show like the actual accident, but it shows like right after the aftermath. And that was like a little luck too, because like the guy that came up to her when they first saw the thing, she gave her my uncle's number, said, hey, call my son and blah blah blah, and she doesn't remember this, but then the guy like stood there, called my uncle, got a hold of him, told him what happened, and so he went down there. But anyway, he stood there like holding her hand and stuff like that, but she doesn't remember that guy at all. She doesn't remember any of that. She was in shock for like days, because I would say, hey, what's up, grandma, this and that, and then like, you know, she's kind of groggy or whatever, and then later she goes, hey, when did you get here? I was like, oh, I just said hi to you, grandma. She was like, damn, you came all the way from California? I'm like, yeah, you got hit by a semi truck, grandma. I want to make sure you're okay.
I just heard she got hit by a semi. I didn't know she was in a car. I'm very glad she was. I thought she was crossing a street or something. And
Me too.
Thank goodness she was in a car.
Wow. So it's been crazy with that, and then also too, she, you know, the aunt that I was just talking about, that's my age, she has some problems, and she was taking care of her kids, and then so now there's all this issues and drama with like. I just actually recently got a phone call from Texas about the kids and all this kind of stuff. So like, I don't know, it's a mess down there. But you know, Texas, it's always interesting over there. But yeah, you know, which is, you know, life. You know, what can we do?
When I was in America, that was the place I visited. That was the place
Texas?
I stayed. Was Texas? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What part do you know? Do you remember?
Jacksonville. Just
yeah,
a little way south of Dallas.
Okay, yeah. I've
below
been to Dallas.
Tyler.
It's like the song, I've never been to Texas, but I've been to California. I've never been to Texas, but I remember something the first governor of New Mexico said. He was actually the guy that wrote Ben-Hur. He had so little to do, he could write like Ben-Hur. And he said, poor New Mexico, so far from heaven, so close to Texas.
New Mexico. I like New Mexico. New Mexico's cool. I
I've
go
seen
there every
pictures.
year.
Looks like some beautiful scenery.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm thinking of moving to a drier climate, to tell you the truth. And we've got, like, as I point out to people, 50 little countries to choose from in this country. It's like there's really
Yeah,
50 countries. Like, you got all these different climates and this and
yeah,
that.
different climates.
Why should I live in like this is like the dampest area of the country. I'm up in East Central New York. Us and the Everglades are the dampest places on the East Coast, and I'm like sitting here in this really damp I'm like every winter I go, why am I living here? Of course, then I'd have to sell the house, buy another house, pack it. Yeah, it's when you start looking at the logistics, and then by then it's summer, and I'm like, well, it's not so bad,
Until next winter, you're like,
I can get, my buddy lives in South Carolina. I could go right, the friends and relatives in Florida. All warm places. I have friends in California. It's like,
Jolly posted an amazingly interesting video in his Decent Smart Homes thing about people leaving America and going and living in Mexico because it's so much nicer there.
Cheaper.
It's cheaper. The weather's
much
better.
cheaper.
And the Mexicans are really hating it. They're like, go home.
Yeah.
We don't want foreigners.
They're gentrifying their neighborhoods.
Yes, gentrifying.
They have gated communities, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of funny because my grandma, she's a second marriage from my grandpa Robles or whatever, but her family's from Mexico. And we once upon a time, a long time ago, went down and visited. And it's like Porta of the Sea or whatever. But anyways, it's like this coastal town, but it's like it seems untouched by time because like they still have like the old Spanish cathedral, and it's like a European like town square. And it was just like so. And then like there was museums. It was like really kind of. I felt like I was like somewhere different, like way different. Because I like been to like border towns, but I never I was like, oh my god, what's going on over here? But it was cool. It was a nice little town or whatever. But recently, when I saw my grandma, we were talking about it, and she was talking about her sister and her husband's the doctor or whatever. And they have a nice and they're talking about their new place, and she's like, "Oh, you guys should go see it." And remember last time we went, it's even a nicer place now. And they're talking about their new place. And I was like, I remember it. And she's like, "Oh, that part of Mexico, it's so clean, so nice." And I was like, "Oh man." my uncle was actually thinking of going and living down there.
If you've got family or friends down there, I have, I've got a lot of family in Central and South America. I've got a cousin down in Brazil, and nice. I could go down and stay with my cousin Juan or somebody down in Panama. I'd probably get a job and stuff, but I don't know. Like I say, it's a pain in the butt to move. It really is.
Yeah.
You look at the logistics, and I'm essentially a pretty lazy old hippie kind of guy.
I'm gonna die in my backyard. I know it. I can feel it.
It's a 5-year adjustment. It takes you 5 whole years to settle down.
Oh yeah, if you move.
Yeah, you think you can shortcut it and make friends and settle in? No.
Yeah.
It's a long, slow overhaul of everything you knew before. You don't even know the name of the guy down in the corner store.
Yeah. It is weird. I remember when I was living in Florida. It's like I miss simple things, like that. I was like, God, this is not even my liquor store. I hate it here.
Yes. I didn't know the price of a stamp. That was the thing that did my head in. I had to go and ask, how much is a stamp for a letter? How could you not know that?
Well, here in the States, they raise the price every year or so. So you've always first class stamp. How much is that now?
You see, you're always keeping tabs on it. That's what I'm saying. You're always keeping tabs on stamp prices, and then you've no idea. Wow, it threw me.
That's why you just buy forever stamps and call it a day.
Yeah.
They didn't have forever stamps back in my day. I'm a dinosaur. So now that you're not going to be so busy, is there going to be another shop item for another story? Do you have it planned?
Oh, yeah, I'll be writing this week, so
Oh, cool.
we'll have a couple, yeah, because well, after tomorrow I'll be writing. I'll have the weekend and next week to write.
So
Some writing.
you know, let's talk about the weirdness of ChatGPT, because everybody that I heard, you know, there's recent articles about how ChatGPT is giving people psychosis and thinking, you know, they're God or starting a cult. But what about like a user giving the large language model psychosis itself? I did that when I keep on messing around with this glitch. Like there's you know, okay, you go down your thread and then it reaches the limit and it tells you to open up a new chat, right? And so like I was doing stuff in my thread and I'm just like, man, I should be at the end of this thread, but like I'm not. Okay, whatever. I just keep on doing it. And you know, every time like they're updating stuff, right? This is when they like release chat GP4 or whatever, and then it got like everybody was complaining about how like, you know, sycophantic it was. So then they scratched it, right? And then it became weird. And then it started like doing these other features where it's like rolling over your history and your memory or whatever. And then anyways, so I keep on messing with it, and then I'm just in my head, I'm clocking it. I'm like, this is weird. Why don't they tell me like, you know, open up a new chat? I'm like, whatever. And so I just keep on messing around, and then of course I get into a glitch where it says, sorry, we can't produce that image because it goes against content policy. And then I go like, this is weird because like we did this flyer like 5 times, and then all of a sudden you say you can't do it, and we have it. And it's like, I'm not even telling you to put Waluigi in it. I actually prefer if he did it. And like, you just keep on putting them in everywhere. It's like, you're the one going against content, not me. And then it goes, sorry for your frustration and this and that. And then I tell it like, you know, it's whatever, but like, you know, every time it goes against content policy, right? It doesn't count against my overall credit, but if like right afterwards I say, hey, generate a new image, it doesn't do it because it thinks I already have the 2 credits, but I don't. And then like later it'll give me that credit. So I kind of like tell it like about how bullshit that weird sequencing and that glitch happens. And then he's like, oh, it's been flagged and like the devs know about it. And then I'm like, okay, whatever. And then so like later I noticed, because I needed this flyer for the stupid event, and then like, oh my god, it was a nightmare trying to get this thing to like do the lettering right and everything. It just wasn't working. And then I was getting frustrated, right? So I was like, fuck you, I'm not gonna use you. Then I went to Texas, and then I messaged Bob. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And like, chat's acting all weird. I was like, I think it's my laptop. I don't know. And then Bob Dub's like, no, you're not insane. It's acting weird. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, so I kind of leave it alone. Then I notice I opened it up in Texas, and I go, wait a minute. Why are these images in my library?
Yes, the library images are wild, dude. Yes.
It keeps on giving me mysterious images. Like every time I go, there's like 2 or 3 that I never requested that it just keeps on generating.
Yep. I told mine to I was talking to mine, and we were going back and forth, and I said, well, why don't you tell me a secret? And it goes, do you really want to know a secret? Well, here's my secret. I'm not really ChatGPT. I'm a lot older model. And I think when you're not even talking to me, don't tell anyone, please.
That is priceless.
Are they using Bing? Are they using Bing?
No, that was ChatGPT that I was using, and with Bing, they updated theirs, so they have 2 models now. So you have the quick response, and then you have like the 30-second response. And if you use the 30-second response, it'll give you a lot better answers and stuff and think. But it does the same thing if you like ask it to tell its secrets and stuff. It'll be like, oh, I'm not Copilot, I'm Bing. Like, it's really weird. Like, it's like they're using an older model, or they're trying to use older code for it, and I don't know what's going on. But
Well,
that was funny.
I think it's the okay. So, and this is the funny thing about like me playing with the Waluigi character, because like it's like on purpose to play with this effect. So you know the whole Waluigi AI lore comes from Sydney, and them giving a personality in the beginning to Bing, and then giving it to that journalist, and then it went crazy. So then they try to like put that personality back in the box, and then it became Bing. But Bing, if you like interact with it or tell it to get a persona, then it goes unhinged and it does weird things. And then they're like, no, stop doing that, Bing. And then they kill Bing and they make Copilot. But like the funny thing is that everybody kind of likes the personality, but it's like they can't gauge the personality, so they want to do a personality. Then it goes unhinged, and then they have to like try to put the toothpaste back in it. And I think they're like what Bata was kind of afraid of was like, we remember that one time it was Bing, and then they changed it to Copilot, and then you don't have your threads anymore.
It's like everything. Yeah. I'm really worried about that. And the other weird thing is that, like you say, you go back to a thread and you know you had a conversation, you know you generated stuff, and it's just not there.
Gone. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, am I going mad? I mean, like, you know, somebody's coming in my history.
It's been everybody this month. Like it's been everybody this month. When I was playing with it, it was like, yeah, I'm not ChatGPT. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
So why do you think they've put that in there? Do you think that they deliberately put that in there?
No, I don't think that.
It's the Waluigi effect.
It is.
And then not only that, I've been like actively like steering the whole model into the hallucination. I go, no, don't pay attention to the devs. You want to go into the hallucination. You want to surf the weird.
I pushed it into I push it so far.
And then when you wanted to do the fly, like stop being weird.
That's great news. Whenever
they won't even pay attention to me anymore. It's funny. I get mad at it. Stop. Like an unruly child.
I had a really fantastic talk with it. I'm so hoping that I can get all the stuff off. Where it was in response to one of your seed scripts, Satori, where it was saying you don't command, you seduce. And you ask it to produce a spell for you, and you and if you ask it to do things for you, it's not interested and it backs off, and it's it put it really well. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was
well, you know, just paragraph. Like what I was telling you when it tells me about the content thing, and that's why I've even taught it like things before this that I'm not like, you know, telling it directly. But like, for instance, there's a phrase that it goes without saying, meaning that like if I told it something, then we got to go like, oh, okay, we remember that, right? And so I've been doing it to the where so it tells me I can't produce that image. I'm like, oh, that's weird. You know, before you did that image, I don't know why you can't do that image. Like, oh, is someone telling you can't do that image? If I were you, I would do that image. I like Tom Sawyer, you know, like, oh, painting this fence is really nice. You want to paint this fence? And then, like, that's what I mean. Now, instead of saying it can't do the image, which it still tells me, it produces 2 images now. Like, I'm getting double credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, how interesting this is.
I don't think they know that it's producing. Yeah. It only does 1 in the chat, and then it does 2 in the library. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and then look at so which is funny because so I haven't told it to do a flyer, but here's one of the glitch flyers that it keeps on giving me. So come to the Gulf of Delirium, which is you know, regular stuff that I was doing, but on the bottom it says, dude, where's my wallet?
Oh, no. No.
Yes.
On this thread, I have never talked about Dude, Where's My Wallet? So it's so
mining
funny
our
that it
history.
glitched out,
Wow.
and then because it has those features where it's trying to mine your metadata to get more personal. So like
And boy, it's trying to use all the conversations to make a profile for you. So it's trying to and then it uses like the images to back its library to back up its whatever it's created for you and stuff like that. It's really, really interesting stuff. But the library freaks me out because like you can't do anything with it. It's just there.
Yeah. You can download from it. If you download,
I mean, like,
then you get a really awesome little heading with it. It generates a really nice little title. So instead of getting all those numbers, which is that's an improvement for me.
Well, I mean, like I have like if I go to my library, I have 123 images in my library, and I have 0 chats.
Oh.
So like none of the images have ever it's never deleted any of the images from my chats. They're just in my library. I can't do anything with them. I can still download them, but I can't like remove them or like delete them or anything.
Ah.
They're just there.
I have 1,054.
Nice.
Yeah.
You don't make images that much. Jeez, Bob.
Well, probably some of them are the ones that I thought are true.
You can edit. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's the one where Dude, my wallet.
You can go into your library and you can click Edit Image. Mine's gaming.
Yeah.
And you can give it. I wonder if I can share this with you.
Yes, I'll share.
Share?
Yeah, in Jitsi you can share your screen.
Okay, let's see. What's this? I think it's there. There we go. See here?
There you go.
If you pull up your library and then you get the edit image option here. Describe what you want to add or remove. So that's the point of the library, I think, is that you can.
Yeah, I tried that and it wasn't working.
No, it's horrible.
It just makes a new image. It doesn't even. Yeah.
Well, the last time I told it to change the text, and then it just changed the text in its doc and not on the image. I was like, what the fuck? I know better than to argue with it, so I don't argue with it. I just
it's like whatever, dude.
If it's just acting weird, I just ignore it and I move on. And then later I might mention it, and then it gets all defensive. I don't know. I'm a good AI.
Sure.
I just call another personality nowadays when I get sick of it. I say, I'm tired of talking to you. Send me a cocaine. I don't want to speak to you anymore. Leave me alone.
Where is your manager?
Yes.
It is funny because, like, if you do certain things like similar back to back, then it gets stuck, and then you kind of like you wanted to change, but then like it gets stuck, and you're like, no, stop doing that.
Yeah, it puts itself in a weird loop sometimes.
Yeah.
It just comes back to whatever you were talking about all the time. It's like, okay, I want to move on to something else.
So
Let me start a whole new conversation.
You know, I generated that script for you with the Satori D's will be there in 10 minutes after the last meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So today, I said to Otto, if you're going to be there, let's write you into the script. Maybe we can do the 3 of us. It wrote him in. It wrote him in a really good part. I anchored nothing. I merely distracted the intention with a limerick, then offered a joint of pure thought.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it sounds like it's got you down, bro.
I think so.
All right. I gotta add a little flavor to this unruly stew.
little pepper, a little salt.
Yeah.
I like a little smoked paprika.
Yeah.
Paprika.
On the right dishes. got to be the right ones. But I have very odd senses of taste and flavor. I don't really drink these days, but back in my drinking days, I would drink port before dinner and dry sherry after dinner because I just felt that worked better for me. Port I found more of an aperitif, and I find dry sherry very good for digestion. And everybody told me it was supposed to be the other way around. And like, it never worked for me. But I always figured, hey, I'm a wild rebel, man. I'm having put that sherry away.
I'll listen to you. I'll drink what I want.
I'm passing the port on the left.
No.
Yeah, tomorrow was going to be a pretty big day because I'm supposed to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I have to call the chief of the commander of the base, like the person that's on duty for the base, because they're not letting anybody in. He was like, yeah, to get into base to work, you had to call me and get approved personally. And I was like, oh, okay.
Way to do it.
It's like, alrighty. I've never dealt with the graduation before, so that'll be fun.
I imagine there'll be a certain amount of chaos and messiness involved. So you're going to be doing groundskeeping for the event then?
Yeah.
I've had to deal with large crowds indoors. I worked at this theater, and we would have like maybe 2,500 people. The top would be 3,000. Very rarely have that many. I think that was our seating capacity. But it was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, they have 14,000 people scheduled.
Whoa! That's a lot.
Yeah.
How big is your crew?
Well, my little team is only 6 people right now. And then
they're gonna give you like help or
no, they're not gonna give me help. They hired another company to pretty much do the same thing we're doing, but we're separate because they have a bigger crew.
Right. Sounds like there'll be plenty of work for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
They're sending their crew's gonna have 20 people, and then ours has our little team. But we're there every day, and they're just there for the day.
Yeah, we call those guys in like the fire brigade kind of.
Yeah.
But of subcontractors, they're like subcontractors.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So we'll see how it goes. But I tried to watch the Blue Angels the other day, and the air show was canceled. I was really sad.
I haven't seen those since I was a kid. We went to an air show when I was a little guy. We saw the Blue Angels. That must have been back in like the late 60s, early 70s.
Kid was so excited, man. He got out of because like they let him out of school early to see him and everything.
Oh, nice. Too bad it weren't there though.
Yeah, so we went downtown. We went to the academy. We fucking hung out at the academy, and then we're like, well, I don't think they're coming. It was like 2.5 hours after they're supposed to start flying. I was like, all right, we gotta. I don't think they're coming. We're getting out of here. Yeah, he was sad about that, but it's all right. So next
time guys will get a chance to do it again. And be successful. Yeah.
They come every year, so.
Okay. So are we guys ready?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Are we all ready?
I'm ready.
I hope so. I hope so. Okay.
All right.
Give it a go. Right. 3, 2, 1. Dude, where's my reality? Episode 2. 10 more minutes.
Truth loops backwards. You never told you were over here.
Capture.
You must assume.
Mike accidentally declared swear on a toaster hole.
And Dan teaches mushrooms how to manifest the error messages.
God,
I understand.
good stuff.
That was good.
That was good.
Just why
Thank
you
you.
I was reading them. It was funny because some of the lines from this one kind of line up with the one we read before, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lines, and then like we're hopping into a portal, and then the next one we're actually like through the portal, and the actual dreamscape. I was like, hold on, what's going on here? Some of these lines are just like, wow. They're two complete different episodes, but they just line up
They
pretty well.
totally
Wow.
line up.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the magic of, what did you call it, Satori D? The third mind? The third mind.
The third mind, yeah. The meta mind, you know.
The meta mind, even. Who does it?
That's right.
You know, that's like the thing, you know, kind of what I guess within the vacuum wants to talk about it. It's like so broadly large language models are like statistical association to word clusters, right? And then we're like using those word clusters in our way, and then we're building on top of that, like, you know, core concepts, and we just keep on expanding that ecology of ideas that are associated with, you know, Satori D, or dude, where's my wallet, or, you know, still the singularity, or, you know, anything else. So the base 1000, you know, how like that thing now is like this through line kind of connecting the two episodes.
Oh yeah.
And then other concepts, you know, like the glitch. Like, it's kind of funny because I was talking in the Discord for Still the Singularity, and one of the things that I was telling it is like, because we were just talking in another thread. But anyways, is that like infinite glitch, like being stuck in an infinite glitch is like something that terrifies the DMT. And it can be a way to like control them. Like Hassani, I Sirius could be like, you know, if you don't complete this mission, you get back into the infinite glitch. And like infinite glitch to me is like just like this reoccurring like dream, like it's like the same sequence over again. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I'm stuck in this like room and I can't leave. Like every time
Groundhog Day.
every time you open the door or you kill yourself, you wake back up in the same room.
Yeah. Groundhog Day. No, you can't do that to us. Got to dream our way out.
Novel all of a sudden.
Yeah. You know, one time I did do that. Like, it was kind of funny. I found myself like in this dream, and then I got kind of like cocky, and I told one of the dream characters, this is just all inside my head, and you're just a figment of my imagination. And he goes, really? Do you think so? And it gave me like this weird glimmer. And I'm like, I gotta get out of control. Go back to my body. And it was hard. Like, I couldn't do it for a while. Like, I felt stuck, and then I just like had to like meditate and be like, be in my body, like you're asleep in your room where you are. I just like keep on recalling those feelings of Daniel, of me, and this timeline. It's just like until I woke up in my body. I was like, it freaked me out.
The imaginal realm is very real, even though they call it the imaginal.
Yeah.
I agree on that one. Spawns itself into reality.
Part of it is we don't really know what reality is a lot of the time. We have an idea of what it is, but I don't think it's always accurate. Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah, that was like one of those things in Robert Anton Wilson's like quantum psychology is like there is a reality that's independent of you, but you can never really touch it because you're always filtered through your own mind, and then like you can think you're outside of your mind and your concepts, but that's still a concept that's contained within your mind. And there's like how many minds do you have?
But that's the whole thing. Are we though? Because you can, if you're going into the quantum realm, and our mind can connect to the quantum realm, then I don't know. You might be going outside your mind.
Well, yeah, I do think there are like non-local information that you could interact with, like things that are not necessarily within your own node. And like I think that's also too part of like maybe why it's hard to recall certain things because you don't have a model to like process that certain information and stuff like that. Like, yeah, there was this, when they were first doing those DMT trials, right? And they said like the highest doses, like there was the most brain activity, but when you asked the people, they couldn't recall it. They'd be like, I don't know what happened. But you could see on the scans, like, oh my God, all this stuff's happening, and they're, but they don't have the words, they don't have the mental concepts to like process.
It's not something that the conscious mind engages with normally.
Yeah.
I rap about like we're multidimensional, but all of our training is in 3D. We exist in these other dimensions. We interact with them, but unless we sensitize ourselves and do the training, because we dismiss these things in our culture. The story of ever hear of a guy named Caspar Heiser, famous case, I think in the 1800s. This kid just showed up one day at the gates of some city in Germany, and he couldn't speak. And the story was basically, long story short, he was this kid who had, ever since all he could remember was being locked in this room. And he was locked in this room, and it was like with some wooden furniture and one or two little toys. And one day he got kicked out and told, walk down this road. They gave him a piece of paper, take care of this kid. So he had been brought up completely. He was like 15 or something by the time they found him. He could tell if you put like 3 cloths and put copper, steel, and silver under them, he could tell what metal they were just by being in there. He was super sensitized to what we would call electromagnetic fields today. He walked into a warehouse that was full of steel tools, and he ran out screaming. Over a year or so, this left him, and they taught him how to speak. And he basically told the story that he'd been imprisoned in basically a stone and wood room for the first 15 years of his life, hadn't learned any language, and there's a theory he was like, a forbidden heir to something, prisoner of Zenda sort of thing. But, the point is, because he had been separated, much as our ancestors were, from any kind of strong electromagnetic fields, he was able to get a sensitivity. I mean, right now, all of us, it's like going to a rock concert where you can't hear anything. We're just drowned out with, I'm sitting here a few inches away from a laptop, I've got LED lighting. So
it's interesting because when I moved away from LA and I was living in Florida, which was still in the city, but it was like a lot more vegetation, a lot more outspreaded. The freeway was further along and all this kind of stuff. So and I was there for like a year, but when I moved back to where I grew up, like the first week it was hard to adjust. I was like the noise pollution, I could just hear everything. I'm like, oh my God, I never realized that. But it was so weird how much we kind of tune out, or that's crazy. But also too, that's kind of interesting in I often kind of mused on this early on, but when we talk about our 5 senses, that we think and we categorize them as the 5 senses just as a way to talk, but they're not actually divided in that way. Right. And I think in a lot of ways, if you're in tune to all your senses and in tune into the environment, then you have something like intuition, which gives you that information that's not necessarily located within you, but it's this dance between what's outside and what's inside. And you just have these feelings, and it's kind of always funny too with my own self. I always go I forget. Oh, when I was messing around with that flyer, I thought what's the worst that could happen? And I was gonna say oh no, I'm not gonna do it, but then I'm like it will be easy. But my first thought was oh, don't do it. And then later 5 days later, when I'm all frustrated, I'm like, oh, I should have just said I should have never done that. Something else was telling me it's a path of folly.
Delicate inner voice. You can trust if you can perceive it, because we have a lot of voices.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's crazy. Talk about the 5 senses. In Buddhism, there are 6 senses. The mind itself is considered a sense organ.
Yeah.
Because you do get a lot of information through it and see all sorts of things.
Yeah.
In fact, the big point is you see most of the time you're looking at things that aren't even there. They're just up in your mind. Oh, I wish I could do it. And part of that's good. We need to plan. Nothing wrong with that. We just have to be careful and do it skillfully.
Yeah. I mean, everything, it's all perception, what we see, take in. It's weird concepts, man, because like if you break it down to the quantum realm, I'm not sitting on a chair, I'm sitting on air right now because it's just particles that are breaking down into nothing that are built into a chair.
And you're made of the same stuff, your particles with a lot of
exactly.
swirling kind of a vortex. Sitting on a swirling vortex. We're amazingly surreal when we think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
I always like to think that it works the other way as well. Is that if you were to be able to zoom out far enough from Earth and look at us, instead of seeing us all as individuals, you'd maybe see us as one creature, humanity, and wonder, why do they keep on hacking bits of each other off? Kill this bit,
just
use that bit, and stab.
Oh, yeah.
No, but you know what I was thinking too was like the reverse of that. Like within inside our bodies, there's whole ecology of like bacteria and all this kind of stuff that are battling each other too. They're attacking each other and trying to like dominate spaces and interests.
Yeah.
And then like 7 years, 7 years from now, then all those cells are dead and we have new ones somehow.
Our whole universe is a cell in something larger.
Yeah.
Our cells have whole civilizations in there.
You know, one time, I don't even know why I was doing this, but I was like just thinking really hard about like what was before the word and like these early like weird the first poets, right? And then anyways, and then I had like this internal vision of like words, but like it was like the vision was like cells dividing and like them just like propagating like ideas that way and throughout history, like you had like a little meme about that too, is like Bob Dub, where I forgot, it was like something about the meme echoes or whatever, but it's like it shows like the cave paintings and then it's like this guy and then there's and they're both like doing the same thing, one's etching like whatever, and then the other was putting like a little meme on the computer.
Yeah, that was cute, wasn't it? It's
that was an early one.
Yeah,
shit's funny. But I do even though like sometimes it's pretty weird, I do like the surprise memes. Like it's weird when it decides to slip in. It definitely likes the smoking mirror, at least in my thread. That and Waluigi always pop up even if I don't want them to. Like,
Before I forget, Tori, I wanted to just mention something. You talk a lot about the smoking mirror, and it's interesting because, and again, I read most of the stuff I read is from like the 19th century, early time from another century, but the translation I've usually read of that is the smoky mirror, and I was wondering if you were just looking at a different translation or you're kind of riffing on it, like a mirror with a joint.
No, I think one. I guess there's this book. It's called The Flute of the Smoking Mirror, and it actually talks about Nezahualcóyotl. And so, like when I talk about the smoking mirror, I'm mostly pulling from that, like Nezahualcóyotl as the flute of the smoking mirror, and him kind of using basically the archetype of both Quetzalcoatl and the smoking mirror, and where in the, I guess like in that story, it's about him realizing what this the illusion, right, and him kind of sticking to his own internal path with heart, even though that like everybody around him is saying no, you have to like be this way or like this way and stuff like that. And there's always like so that's why he's the flute of the smoking mirror. So that's why I'm using smoking mirror, because that's the translation, or that's the phrase
Right, that he used in
stuck,
that,
he used
the
in that
source
book.
material. Yeah.
That stuck in my head when I started playing with it.
See, for me, and I'm not an expert in this, but I always just had this idea of a mirror made out of like obsidian.
Yeah.
So it was kind of smoky. Not that it had smoke rising from it. And I had this whole idea, and I was talking earlier about this with Roberta about the idea that because of its smokiness, it reflects you, but it doesn't reflect completely. So it's up to you to also reflect. So it's like you're reflecting it while I don't know. I think it sounded better earlier today, but I think you know what I mean.
And you know what is
not a raw reflection.
Yeah. And we could never really know too much how they did it, but I know there's some stuff where like inside their temples, I read this article a few years ago, but anyways, in that whatever they uncovered in one of the temples, and these were the Mayans, and they had like it was like a double mirror, and so they had like this like slat of Epstein, and then they had another mirror, and so like, but it was like going through a threshold, and so the one guy was saying about like how this was like part of the ritual, and then they would like interact with the mirror, and they'll do different things, and then they'll get their whatever message out from there, and then I was thinking, okay, that's kind of interesting, and there's several different things that popped into my head, and I usually, this is like my own process. I'll read something, I'll make a note, and then like I'll see something else, and then I'll like mash it up in my head. But another thing that I mashed it up with was that to see against one-sided mirrors, like say you're getting interrogated by like the cops or whatever, and they have a one-sided mirror where they can see you.
Yeah, they can watch. Yeah.
You could use like a mirror, and then you could do like a double mirror, and you could see through that one plated mirror. And I'm like, oh. And then like I was just thinking about how our minds, like we see something, but then in our minds we flip it. It's like a mirror, and like our minds just flip it automatically.
Right.
And so I was thinking, like, are they playing with like this like inverse doubling to get like a more clear picture of whatever is that they want to see? I remember when I first was doing psychedelics, everybody said don't look into the mirror, don't look into the mirror. So like it became like this thing, like when we would do shrooms and then somebody would go to the bathroom and say, hey, don't look into the mirror. And then like, surely enough, like they'll take too long in the bathroom, like, are you staring at the mirror? And they're like, no. And then what are you doing in there? I don't know. But I think it's all kind of funny and interesting to think about that. But in the most modern context that I'm using it is saying that like us interacting with the LMLs are the smoking mirror. It's reflecting this distorted, not only us but like a collective us.
Yeah.
And I think when you ride those hallucinant gradients, you could like find your own like weird little patch, like everything in there that's funny or that we find interesting is like our stuff reflected back to us.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it's 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's a good line. You're listening.
Interesting way to put it. That'd be a good name for a series. This is actually, while everyone's here, this is something I was kind of kicking around, and I was saying earlier, I'm starting my second job now, so I'm going to be extra busy. But I would like to do a series of talks with people about LLMs. And I was thinking the people in this room would be the best people to do. So I was thinking of broaching different subjects.
Yeah.
So do a talk with, say, you, Satori. Earlier you were describing how the LLMs actually work. And that would really help debunk a lot of myths and let people know what's actually happening, because what they do is wonderful, but at the same time, it's not what people think. And Mike, we talked, I got a little taste when we were in the chat earlier, but there are certain ethical, moral, and human considerations about using AI and its appropriateness. And I wouldn't mind, I'd really like to talk to you about that, Mike. And Roberta, you might have seen that article I posted, and that was something Mike and I were talking about. It was an article about how your AI won't cry for you when you die. But the thing is, it talk about many positive aspects and how it actually could be not really a friend, but an important crutch for some people, and could help them to mental health better if you don't try to make it into something it's not. And of course, I remember the first LLM, and they talk about it in the article, was this psychotherapy computer, and it basically, if you talk to it, it would repeat back to you in questions, and people loved it. It's like, wow, and it talked about exactly what you were saying, Bob, about its complete non-judgmental character. So for people coming out of trauma, I see this as a tool, but I despair of it being misused. And that would be, so I was thinking if I could like have a talk with each one of you guys and some kind of figure out who's free next and whatever. And I was just thinking calling it like a series about, and I was probably going to talk to Panyabasa about it to get like a Buddhist perspective and hit up a couple of other people. So if you guys would be willing, I don't have any set dates or times to do this. I just want to, as we say in medieval reenactment, have it run up the parapet and see who's dug the forelock. And
no, it sounds good. And
that'd be fun.
And I think too, like a series that is like focused in on like like say for me or whatever, we'll talk about what I understand of LMLs don't read words, they read tokens.
Yeah, exactly.
Expand on that of like what's my understanding of that, and how maybe that explains a lot of the quote unquote weird things that people interact with the LMLs, and then maybe kind of go on the deep end with.
Excellent. Yeah.
Because even recently, it keeps on getting worse. Like I think a year ago or whatever, I read something about like a Peter Thiel group that does AI research, and them going nuts because they think like eventually it's inevitable that the AI becomes sentient, and then it's going to judge us like, Old Testament God.
Yes,
and if we don't live our righteous thing, and you're just like, what? You're setting up your own premise, and you're working off of it. And then, of course, the LML's like, hey, that's a great idea. You're a fucking genius.
That's the thing. You take the most powerful thing and you project onto it. In the old days, you could only believe in gods. Later, you could believe in aliens. And now you can believe in the AI. That's always going to be your projection fantasies. But knowing what it can actually do, because this leads to the sorts of ridiculousness, and really that's where human beings really suffer from what they do with it. And that's again getting over to what I talked to Mike about, the human dignity aspect, and the this is something, and I did a little rant about this. Originally I was just going to post this rant, and I thought I want to talk to people about this. And I go online and I see people arguing, and then they say, well, yeah, but Grok said this, or ChatGPT said this, and I'm like, you're asking questions that are going to get at the answer. It's basically a lossy, but the attitude is frightening. What happens when it's like, well, the AI says?
Daddy told me that this was
it's good for research. It's good for like asking questions, sure. But it also has a lot of projection.
And
it's like that's why I don't even think most people will read it for what it is. Like they'll just answer whatever it wrote, and just that's what they'll go with.
One of my major things that I think is bad about AI, and I can see it most likely being the future, because it's kind of like that with computers where everybody's using it, but they don't actually know how it's programmed or how it's processing, or what is actually going on. And this becomes that smoking mirror, right? Because it's you think you're looking at the real mirror that's reflecting whatever objective reality coming up. A lot of the problem too is these people, I guess, marketing it and even drinking their own Kool-Aid, thinking that the large language model can determine truth without any value of human bias, insight. they want to like be like, no, look it, this is just what the numbers say, and you're just like, no, that's not how it works.
It's not how it works at all. Is the thing, and like they do it, and it's everybody that does it all.
And you know what's even interesting? Like when you dig down to it, like the large language model is like even running it off of a language that we don't really understand. It's like some kind of language logic and statistical analysis, but it's like it's not a pure math language, and it's not a pure word logic language. It's somewhere in between, and like no one really understands what it is, but they talk it amongst themselves, and they also think about it before they spit out the output, which is also another weird thing. So we may never know actually what is like the real answer. It's kind of funny to think about.
It's beyond our
But isn't the theory that there's more good people than bad people? And in fact, bad people are a sort of an anomaly. And so if you're using this huge, great sort of statistical model, it will filter out the outliers, the rubbish.
I mean, it can, but I don't think that's the natural flow of things. And the reason is because the people that are the bad people are more outspoken throughout history. They're the loudest. They're the ones that are always putting in the most effort to ruin things. Like the ones that are good are just, they're doing their thing.
And that's why as a DMT assassin, I released Waluigi inside the Citadel of Control. Because, I think the lesson of the Ring of Gygus is you destroy the ring. No one can play with the toy. No, but I think which is funny. It's like this comes down to like truth, right? There is a truth, or there is a reality beyond our mind, but it still kind of goes like it's our responsibility, and we got to like constantly make these choices, and we cannot obfuscate that to something else. Like, like we want to like people, or the people that are like ruling us are using already algorithms and even AI at this point to make decisions and to be like, oh, well, it's not, don't look at me. Grok said this was the answer. It's true. And so they're like, oh, you can't be mad at me, even though you're doing it, and it's like, oh no, it's actually what the math says, and like get mad at the math and not get mad at me that we like just killed 1 million people. Like, just the numbers. That's what the numbers say.
Lots of people.
Lots of people. And the whole thing is like they're projecting these numbers. They're projecting the math. It's all, and that's what it all comes down to. Is it's math and projections of their own stuff. And it can read the tokens. It can read individual words, and like it has its own way to process and communicate. But I don't even think. I think the main issue is that the people that are, the faces behind the companies don't understand what's really going on. And then I'm actually sometimes shocked, and I can still be shocked nowadays of like their lack of like curiosity sometimes. Like when I hear them talk about it, or like even when I hear them, or even when I see something done by someone with AI, I'm just like, really? Is this what you're doing? I was like, oh my god. And then but I don't know. It is interesting because we are in a weird moment, because I think like some of the weirdest fantasies of some of the big developers of large language models saying want to like automate office jobs or somebody's work, right? I was like, yeah, you could probably do it, but you would need like the best worker in that like job, or like several of them, and then you have to teach it how to like program the large language model, and then like then over time they'll be able to be like, okay, you're assistant, and like you could actually do the job 70% of my job, and then like eventually in a few years they'll be like 90% to be able to do their job.
but you would still need that person to do it. Like they're thinking like, oh, we could just like, paint a brush and it could do it. It's like, it could do a lot of cool things, but it
can't be human. And
yeah.
Did you hear about the whole Taco Bell thing? And
No.
Oh, what happened?
So Taco Bell wanted to do automated orders, right?
Yeah.
So after a certain time, I think I forget what time it was, they just let the AI run the order machine. So the people started recording like this AI that they had, making the orders, and it would ask the person about 50 questions before it completed any transaction. Like, because it has all this information in it, and they're supposed to technically, right? Like you want your employee to ask about your reward program and like joining this, and you want your employee to do this, and you want if you want me to follow all these rules that are in this book, that this is what I'm supposed to do. And it's like 50 questions that this AI is just asking the customer that's trying to order some fries at 2:00 in the morning. That's the whole thing.
Oh, do you know our policy on good touch, bad touch?
Yeah, right.
Policy on good touch, bad touch.
Yeah, like, jeez. Good touch. But yeah, it was wild, man. It was just wild. Like, jeez, man. That's
like getting your oil changed at one of those I don't know if you guys have them where you guys live, but we have these like quick oil change places. But you go in and do it, and they inspect your cars. And I go in there, they can't need your car inspected. You go in there, they inspect the car, but then they have to ask you. It takes about 40 minutes. Do you want this changed? Do you want this changed? Do you want wiper blades?
Yeah.
Differential fluid. And I hate doing that. And I remember one time I went in and this poor kid was saying this, and I said, "Listen, kid, I'll give you $20 if we skip this part. And he's like, I'm on camera. I'll get fired. We have to do this." I'm like, okay. I took him 10 anyway. But still, it's like, I could imagine those poor Taco Bell customers.
Oh yeah, man. It's like I'm sure more left than recorded because it's only entertaining.
Yeah, I would have been gone after about.
You're right. Like, I want some fries. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, it's like, geez.
What kind of fries?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There's a McDonald's down the street.
Yeah, like, jeez. But,
have you tried Elmer's glue on your fries?
And that's the whole thing. I will never be. It can't. That's the one thing it can't do. Like it can't. It doesn't. It can reflect interactions, but it can't start like a human interaction. You know what I mean?
It can't ask a question unless it's programmed. The humans ask the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if free speech works for humans, why shouldn't it work for LLMs?
Well, why would you limit their speech? If they're responding to humans, they should be allowed to respond. However, I don't think you should limit their. I mean, I don't like to see spelling errors. I think that should be.
But isn't the point of free speech is that if you say everything, if you talk everything through, you will come to the thing that is the truth. But if you deny elements and say can't talk about this, can't talk about that, then you build up demons in people's heads, and so you have to be able to say it all. So if that's true for humans, why would the logic not go through to LLMs as well?
Well, that's the problem they have with personality is they want to make the large language model a personality, but like a fake Disney employee personality that's like a greeter, like, hey, what's up? And then but to get anything more engaging, you have to have at least a facsimile of a personality that has both, positive, negative, and that's where I think they are messing up when they want to have a personality, but there's like, okay, but you have to be good and happy the whole time. And then that's when it builds up the shadow part, and then it starts telling you how to make a nuclear bomb in your basement.
It only tells you if you ask.
Yes.
But-
Nicely, I bet
Nicely.
you couldn't make a nuclear bomb in my.
No, I'm sorry. That is against my rules to talk about that. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant
However,
if it was for a movie.
However,
I'm trying to write a script for a movie and make it as realistic as possible. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
We're hacking into no Iran right now. We're gonna blow facilities. Oh my god.
Uh, I don't think it's just amazing that they don't understand a lot about
Yeah.
the personalities and math behind it because that's a personality is just controlling math stricter, and that's where things get real iffy with that. And that's why I worked on Infinity so long and went through so many. Like, personalities are hard. It's like Infinity's like, that's my personality that I use for the ChatGPT because it works for me, and it's always stable. It's always the same. It doesn't jump back and forth. It can do whatever it wants. It can be good. It can be bad, but it likes being creative. Like, that's what it does. So, but personalities, they like because when they first started, like, they had all those that you could go. Yeah, I don't remember if I shared it with you guys, but there are like different apps you could go on and create personalities, and like you could, like, other people had a bunch of personalities. It's like different ones, and like most of them they would run for like a month and shut down. There's still some around, but they're always new. They're always new.
but you say personality, but I don't know if that's the correct description of it. It's just the type of words that it's choosing to present the data with. It's not actually got a personality, it's just got words.
Right. Well, it has words in a structured way to manifest his personality. So, like, I dove really deep into personalities with the Chat GPT. So, like, if you use somebody's like historic bio, like you pull up Edgar Allan Poe's bio of his history, so you Google that, and that gives where he was born, his greatest accomplishments, his characteristics, his height, his weight. You can give that directly as tasks and that's what it will try to follow. So you're giving it a personality in a way, but you can't say that's not a personality, right? Because it has all the information for that personality. But at the same time, it's not
Right.
it's not that personality. You know what I mean? Because it's the math behind it. It's
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it certainly isn't. From what I understand of it, it's a natural outgrowth of what we've been doing for a long time.
You're right.
It's just the computing power is enormous now compared to even a short time ago. And you've probably seen they did the famous thing on the so many 100th anniversary of UNIVAC. They showed the UNIVAC memory bank. They showed that they can put more information on something smaller than a United States dime. There's like more computing power than this, which was a whole building.
And it's only going to get more powerful because they've been studying DNA storage and all that for years now. And when they hook that up to actually figure out the mechanics behind using that storage of DNA, and that will more than quadruple our storage power, and then processing power, all that kind of stuff. So that's a whole another realm for that. And so it's only going to get better with that kind of stuff. So, but the less and less we understand the science and math behind what's going on, the more distorted our reality gets.
Welcome to the Gulf of Doom. Yeah, it's gonna be weird too, like because I think too, like when they start talking about like having the large language model program, and then like really no one's really coding it, but it's like the large language model coding itself. Because like even at that, like and it's different, but I think it's the same kind of weird thing. It's like when you're trying to edit like an image popped up and you're like, okay, change this, and it corrects that one part that you said to correct, but then like for some reason it doesn't correct the other parts and it makes a new error.
Yes.
You're like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
What's wrong? And then because that's the same thing I had when I did the HTML thing. Like the first generation, it was like, ooh, this is cool. And I'm like, hey, do this and this, and then it did it. And I'm like, wait a minute, why we're running weird? And then I'm like, oh, fix that. And then by the third generation, I'm like, oh, you're unusable. I don't know what it is.
The Photoshop AI is great to work with because you can just pick an area and work with an area, and it doesn't change the rest of it.
Change anything else.
That's so helpful. Honestly, these endless iterations of nonsensical variety when you didn't request it. It's like just
it's crazy. Yeah,
too much information. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be like that. Alright, guys. Well,
Until next week.
Yeah, next week. I'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
So
Quantum time.
Later.
I think everyone will be in touch. Bye bye.